Massive rejections against job creation's law. Jokowi invited the public to file a judicial review. Some of Waskita Karya's toll roads to be divested. Good afternoon, viewers in Indonesia and Singapore. Market Headlines is ready to provide you a number of informations from business, economic, and capital market sectors. With me, Clara Antawijaya, and this is Market Headlines. And yes, viewers, regarding the rejections and demonstrations against the job creation's law, President Joko Widodo asked the public who objected the law to file a judicial review lawsuit to the Constitutional Court.
Regarding the rejection against the job creation law, President Joko Widodo asked the public who objected to the law to file a judicial review lawsuit to the Constitutional Court. Jokowi emphasized that conducting a judicial review to the Constitutional Court on a law was a step in accordance with the constitutional system in Indonesia.
Dan kalau masih ada, jika masih ada ketidakpuasan terhadap Undang-Undang Cipta Kerja ini, silahkan mengajukan uji materi atau judicial review melalui MK. Mahkamah Konstitusi.
On that occasion, Jokowi also responded to the demonstration by workers and students which had been held 3 days in a row to reject the job creation law. Jokowi said that the action was caused by disinformation and hoaxes circulating in the community.
Namun, saya melihat adanya unjuk rasa penolakan Undang-Undang Cipta Kerja yang pada dasarnya dilatar belakangi oleh disinformasi mengenai substansi dari undang-undang ini dan hoax di media sosial.
Even Jokowi explained a number of disinformation and hoaxes about the job creation law as well as conveyed rebuttals. For example, in relation to the elimination of the provincial minimum wage, the district minimum wage and the provincial sectoral minimum wage are removed. However, Jokowi did not explain in detail the comparison between the rules in the old manpower law and the law that was recently passed. From Jakarta, Fajar Wayong, IDX Channel.
And yes, viewers, demonstrations and strikes carried out by workers in various cities in Indonesia, especially in Jakarta, due to rejections of the job creation's law, has disrupted economic activities. As a result of these actions, the Indonesian Chamber of Commerce and Industry calls business productivity was interrupted.
The rejection of the job creation law in a number of regions, including Jakarta, has resulted in the destruction of a number of public facilities. This is regretted by a number of business actors, including the Indonesian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Chairperson of the Indonesian Chamber of Commerce and Industry of Jakarta, Diana Dewi, said that the strike, including actions on the street, has disrupted industrial productivity in the Jakarta area by the absence of activity in a number of business lines.
Persisnya kita memang belum hitung, tetapi sudah pasti jumlah miliaran rupiah itu terjadi ya dalam satu hari kemarin, baik itu omset maupun profit yang pasti terhitung demikian, Mas. Saya melihat ini kan undang-undang yang baru ini adalah demi kebaikan pengusaha maupun kebaikan pekerja dan khususnya negeri ini. Saya yakin kalau mereka diberi sosialisasi yang benar, mereka akan mengerti dan memahami.
For that, Diana said that positive thinking is needed and put forward dialogue to discuss the job creation law. Moreover, she ensures that if licensing is made easier, it will have an impact on absorbing large investments to develop business lines so that employees and workers are more prosperous. Diana added that as an entrepreneur, she ensures that workers' welfare is the first thing in every policy taken. This is because workers are seen as the main asset for employers. From Jakarta, Ade Firmansyah for IDX Channel.
After implementing the emergency brake policy, which is a full large-scale social restrictions for about a month, by today, Jakarta is back to transitional large-scale social restrictions again. Jakarta Governor Anies Baswedan has once again relaxed large-scale social restrictions in the capital. Starting another transitional stage on Monday, restaurants will be allowed to serve dine-in customers at 50% of their maximum capacity, while houses of worship are also allowed to reopen. In the other hand, for business sectors during transitional period, workplaces in 11 essential industries will be allowed to operate at a full capacity. For instance, health, food, energy, communications, finance, logistics, and daily needs retail. While the non-essential businesses may allow up to 50% of their employees to work at the office. But still, one thing to be underlined, businesses must prepare a COVID-19 safety plan with further protocols to be regulated by the relevant city agencies. From all sources, IDX Channel. The Minister of Finance emphasized that the enactment of Law Number 2 of 2020 on government regulations in lieu Law Number 1 of 2020 did not violate the constitutions. The Minister of Finance explained that the steps to overcome the impact of COVID-19 were carried out to prevent a bigger crisis.
In the judicial review of Law Number 2 of 2020 concerning the stipulation of government regulations in lieu of Law Number 1 of 2020 at the Constitutional Court, the government ensured that these steps are in accordance with the provisions in the Constitution. Finance Minister Sri Mulyani mentioned that Law Number 2 of 2020 is a law established from government regulation in lieu of Law Number 1 of 2020. Discussions were also carried out by the government together with the people's representatives during the same trial period, starting April 1st and passed on May 12, 2020, so that the process fulfills the formality of passing government regulations in lieu of law. In addition, the basis for the stipulation of the 2020 law is intended to prevent a major crisis, with efforts to save the economy through policies to increase the state budget deficit, to change the posture of the state budget and encourage stimulus.
Apabila tidak dilakukan upaya penanggulangan secara cepat dan tepat atas perlambatan tersebut, secara pasti akan terjadi ancaman terhadap stabilitas sistem keuangan. Oleh karena itu, ruang lingkup lampiran Undang-Undang 2 2020 desain atau dirancang tidak hanya ditujukan untuk penanganan COVID-19, melainkan juga mencakup tindakan antisipatif atau forward-looking untuk menangani efek domino.
The government has also examined that there is no prohibition on discussing the ratification of government regulations in lieu of laws during the same trial period as the submission of the draft law by the government. From Jakarta, Raharjo Patmo for IDX Channel.
Market headlines will be right back after this quick break. Stay tuned.
Seiring dengan penutupan dari Bursa Wall Street, di mana S&P kembali mencatatkan rekor tertinggi sepanjang sejarah, membuat IHSG juga pada pagi hari ini dibuka di teritori positif, pemirsa.
Kedua, pasar masih melihat adanya proses recovery yang terus berjalan.
Sementara di Asia kita lihat berakhir positif juga pada perdagangan Jumat kemarin setelah rilis data ekonomi di wilayah Eropa dan Amerika yang mengalami penguatan.
Nama saya Devisa Novel, jabatan saat ini di IDX Channel adalah sebagai produser dan sekaligus presenter program yang dibawakan saat ini dengan nama IDX Second Season Closing, terkait juga dengan kondisi capital market Indonesia dan perkembangannya dari waktu ke waktu. Dan saya sangat senang untuk belajar dan berkecimpung di berita ekonomi, khususnya di capital market. Senang sekali saya Devisa Novel dan dapat hadir menemani Anda dalam program spesial dialog webinar on TV.
Setiap minggunya kita akan membahas tema-tema yang sangat menarik. Apa kabar ibu-ibu sekalian?
Alhamdulillah baik.
Salah satu ambisi daripada Kementerian Koperasi dan UMKM bersama Spesco adalah koperasi keren, baru, digital, gitu kan, yang kita bisa IT.
Welcome back to Market Headlines. Minister of Cooperative and SME sees that the law on job creations can create significant impact to the cooperatives and small medium businesses. At least there are 6 advantages that small and medium businesses can have from the law. So here it is: the first, financing access; second, market access; third, ease on developing business; and the fourth, licensing and supply chain access to strengthen the role of small businesses and creating the employment. And of course, because law on job creations can bring local startup into maximum potential. And then moving on to the fifth point, the law is able to provide strengthening and protections for small, medium business actors in competitions with the big businesses. And the last one, the sixth point, the ease of applying for loans by small and medium businesses.
Dan UMKM ini yang pertama adalah menjawab masalah utama UMKM dan koperasi saat ini, yaitu akses kepada pembiayaan, akses pasar, akses ke pengembangan usaha, akses ke perizinan, ya, dan juga akses.
And yes, viewers, some say that the country's first ever omnibus law will help boosting the nation's economic growth and create job opportunities. But some say the law removes many benefits workers currently enjoy. Such dilemmatic conditions makes us think what is actually going on in here and what will experts think about this. And therefore, we are going to have a deeper discussions about public dilemma over omnibus law on job creations. And joining us with Jayanto Samirin as a public policy observer of Paramadina University. Hello, sir. How are you?
Ibu Clara, how are you?
I'm really fine, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, it's great, you know, a lot of good development, challenging development in the country, especially on the economic front. So quite, you know, exciting to have a look and observe.
All right, sir. So cut the chase. We got a very chaotic situation here as protests against the omnibus law and job creations also broke out, you know, at the Hotel Indonesia Runabout, Tugutani area, and several cities in Indonesia such as Jakarta, Medan, and Palu. And cut the chase, I want to know your perspective in here as a public policy observer. Does law on job creation brings more harm or good?
Yeah, I think it's like a two-edged sword for the nation. The intention of the law itself is very good, very noble to promote competitiveness. However, it has problem when it comes to the deliberation process, the process of creating the law, despite it is a very important law that impacts the livelihood of hundreds of millions of Indonesians. The process is pretty simplified, straightforward, without proper discussion with, you know, related stakeholders like labor association, you know, academia, and civil societies, and even local government. This creates a problem because, you know, they are feel left in.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. If we can assess that this law actually has a great plan with good deeds as well from the government, but there are some points that probably public would have a denial about that. And what is actually the worst part of this new law from your opinion? Probably it's more to harming the workers or about the blunder procedural?
I think 40% is about the substance, but more than that, 60% is about the procedure, the process. Some says that it's constitutional. I'm, as a public policy observer and economist, think that it is a lack of the involvement of other stakeholders. In fact, the trust level between the people and the government now is very low because of the lack of transparency in trusting the law. And in fact, a lot of stakeholders were involved in the process, mostly representing the business community. That's why the accusations that the law biased toward business community is very strong. Of course, there are some positive aspects of the substance. We just discussed, your program just outlay, the impact of the law on small medium enterprises. That's valid. For small medium enterprises, the cluster for small medium enterprises and cooperatives is really, really, helpful for these business institutions to grow, to have access to market, access to financing. But on the other aspects, workers, environment, and other things, human rights, some says that there are a lot of homework to be done.
All right, so I really like the idea that you point out that this is really helpful for the SME and also the businesses to have ease of financing and also market access. But however, we cannot even deny the fact that workers are having a problem in here. And as you said before, the key of public policy making is about participations. And here it is, do you think that workers participated enough in evolving in this new law?
I don't think so. I think it has been published, the list of experts who were involved in designing the law. And not many of them representing civil society and academia. In fact, for this very important and comprehensive law, there is no such thing like comprehensive, robust study before. So I think it's a problem. And again, law is one thing, regulation is one thing. The most important part of it, especially in Indonesia, is how to implement it. We need, implementing regulation. To create that really takes time. And secondly, we need solid and effective bureaucracy to be able to handle this transformation, to be able to handle the implementation of the law. And bureaucracy often play a very significant role as, a handicap for business to grow, for investment to happen in Indonesia.
All right, so you mentioned many times about bureaucracy. In your opinion, how is the bureaucracy in Indonesia?
I think it has a very strong bureaucracy inertia. Our bureaucracy, when they are accustomed to old practice, old regulation, old mindset, old culture, it's very difficult to be transformed, to adapt to a new regulation, a new rule, a new mindset, and so on and so forth. And basically, the law, the omnibus law, is a change of mindset. So it's a very big homework for the government to transform the bureaucracy. I've been in a government for 5 years, helping the vice president as a staff khusus or advisor in economic. Oftentimes, the toughest part of a program is to implement it.
So the implementation is the hardcore in here.
Yeah, especially when we have to deal with, bureaucracy from many ministries, bureaucracy from various, local government, that's the biggest problem that we face.
All right, sir.
I believe that even with the old law, when we improve the situation in our bureaucracy, the outcome will be so much different without changing the law.
Thank you for your explanation, sir, because it's really concise and we can take conclusions that this omnibus law is actually good. It has a great plan and then is on the small, medium enterprise and small businesses ease of market access, but however, probably the public trust that we have to fix with the government and also the bureaucracy. Right, sir?
Thank you.
Yes, sir. So thank you for your time with us. Really appreciate it. And viewers, stay with us because market headlines will be right back after this quick break.
Kepala BKPM Bahlil Hadalia bahkan mendorong investor untuk segera masuk ke kawasan industri yang disiapkan pemerintah.
Silakan para investor datang yang bawa modal, datang yang bawa teknologi, biarlah pemerintah yang mengurus izinnya.
Asosiasi Industri Sepeda Motor Indonesia mencatat penjualan sepeda motor secara bertahap menunjukkan pemulihan.
Welcome back to Market Headlines. So let's take a look at the Jakarta Composite Index intraday movement. So earlier today, JCI was open at level of 5,088.21, and approaching the closing time of the first session, the index was on the level of 5,091.64, and then the index was showing strengthening trend by the second session's closing time. The index was closed at the level of 5,093.09, and in short, JCI went up 5.78%. And next, we are going to see the sectoral movement. Leading the dynamics of today's trading, we got finance as the leader of the strengthening trend that went up 1.83%. Agriculture that went up 1.27%. And we got constructions as the leader of the weakening trend that went down 0.43%. And Misk Industry that went down 0.26%. And moving on to the top gainers and top losers, here are the key highlights for today's trading sessions. BBCA went up 1.39%. BBKP went up 16.82%. And BRIS went up 5.26%. And BMRI that went up 1.35%. Meantime, for the top losers for today's trading, we got ICBP that went down 1%. We got Unilever that went down 1.24%. We got BRPT that went down 1.18%. And PPRE that went down 6.7%. And next, we're going to see the intraday movement of rupiah towards the US dollar. So rupiah opened at the level of 14,700, and rupiah was also showing weakening trend towards US dollar. I was closed at the level of 14,722. In summary, rupiah went down 0.07%. And yes, viewers, state-owned contractor company Waskita Karya seeks to continue the toll road divestment process in the last quarter of the year with a total cash inflow target from divestment throughout 2020 up to 8 trillion rupiah.
State-owned contractor company Waskita Karya seeks to continue the toll road divestment process in the last quarter of this year. Waskita Karya Corporate Secretary Ratna Ningrum said that the company remains focused on implementing the divestment process for several toll road sections with a total cash inflow target of 7 to 8 trillion rupiah. The sections to be released to new investors this year include the Bekasi Cawang Kampung Melayu toll road and several Trans-Java toll roads. Last month, Waskita Karya released a 30% stake in Kresna Kusuma Diandra Marga as the toll road business entity that holds the Becakayu toll road concession. Through its subsidiary, Waskita Toll Road, the company divested 550 billion rupiah worth of shares over to investors through limited participation mutual funds. Regarding divestment, Sukor Sekuritas analyst Joy Faustian assessed that the toll road divestment process this year will not run smoothly because investors are still watching the performance of toll roads after the COVID-19 pandemic. Meanwhile, because Waskita toll road assets are immature and the economy continues to slow down, Joy suspects that it will be difficult for Waskita to complete the transaction in 2020. Moreover, by excluding cash flow and potential liquidity from asset divestment, Joy estimates that Waskita's profit will still be depressed until next year. from all sources. For IDX Channel.
And yes, viewers, step aside for market conditions. Let's jump into coronavirus coverage. Government keeps reminding us again and again how important the use of face masks to anticipate the spread of COVID-19. And this must be further socialized to the public, especially regarding the cleanliness of the mask, which must be prioritized.
One of the ways to prevent the transmission of COVID-19 is to use a face mask. The head of the mitigation team of the Indonesian Doctors Association, Adi Humaydi, said that if people use cloth masks, it is expected not to use them many times. After finishing, the mask must be washed before being reused, because when the condition is not clean, it has the potential to become a medium for COVID-19 transmission.
Selama vaksin yang efektif dan aman belum ditemukan, maka untuk melawan COVID-19 ini, pencegahan penularanlah utama. Perilaku 3M, yaitu memakai masker, menjaga jarak, dan selalu mencuci tangan, itu merupakan hal yang utama. Khusus masker, kalau Anda menggunakan masker kain, jangan lupa selalu menggunakan masker kain yang bersih. Dan kalau kita selesai menggunakannya, langsung dicuci. Jangan dipakai berulang-ulang sampai berhari-hari.
Meanwhile, for the use of medical masks such as N95 or other medical masks, make sure the masks are removed after cutting, or make sure the mask cannot be reused so as to avoid individuals using used masks for resale. And if medical masks are used for medical treatment, then they must be discarded safely so as not to cause transmission. From Jakarta, Muhammad Olga for IDX Channel.
As coronavirus pandemic takes a big role on current economic situations, here it is an update data about coronavirus globally. And the news close our market headlines today. Please enjoy our next program on IDX Channel, your trustworthy economic business and capital market channel. And before saying goodbye, I would like to remind you on what Mom said. Please do comply with health protocol by using masks, physical distancing, and avoiding crowd. Also washing your hand often with soap through overflowing water. I'm Claranta Wijaya. Have a nice evening and stay safe.